The top 3 wide receivers in the 2024 NFL Draft, next on FFT in 5.
Let's start with Marvin Harrison Jr. here, who is one of the most touted prospects that I've seen at the wide receiver position in probably 5-10 years. Does he live up to the hype for you?
Absolutely. He's got so many strengths. It's almost I think it would almost be easier to just go through the 2 things that I have concerns about
Okay.
with him, and they're not really like the biggest concerns in the world. And then you can just assume that he's great at everything else. The concerns, I'll start with the concerns. He's fast, but he's not Tyreek Hill fast. He's not Jamar Chase fast. He will get caught occasionally from behind. The top cornerbacks will be able to run with him in the league. And he's not a tackle breaker. He didn't often enough make a catch in college, break a tackle, and then add on a lot of yards. He would definitely get open, and he'd get very open and then run to the end zone. He did that a ton, but that was more because of his route running, his body control. Those are the things that are going to help him get open. And I think it's going to help him stay open for a long, long time. He's also 6'3", Dan, so he can make contested catches, and those 50-50 balls look like 60-40. Even when he's covered, he's open because he can leap high for those passes. And here's the other thing that might go a little bit under the radar. 2 years ago, he thrived with CJ Stroud, and everybody knows what CJ Stroud turned out to be. Last year, and even in high school, he played with a quarterback named Kyle McCord, and he is not even at Ohio State anymore. He's transferred to Syracuse. Not the same type of prospect as CJ Stroud. And he was able to put up big numbers with both of those quarterbacks, which tells me even if he gets saddled in a situation where the quarterback isn't great, he should be able to do fine. The good news is that no one can see him anywhere other than Arizona or LA with the Chargers. And those are 2 teams with 2 really good quarterbacks.
Now let's talk Odunze, a player who I think pretty much has it all, Dave. Some people have said, "Oh, I don't love him after the catch." You watch him run screens and that Washington offense, you're like, this guy is snifty after the catch. He maximizes yards. He's good on those short routes. The intermediate and deep, that's where he's at his best. He had he caught 75% of his contested catches this year. At first I comped him to like a basically bigger, bigger version of Chris Olave. But as I've gone through the draft season, I kind of feel like he's DeAndre Hopkins with more juice, as crazy as that might sound, because of their strong hands and their crazy, amazing body control at the catch point. And because I think he has a little bit more after the catch. Odunze, I don't think there's anything he's bad at personally, including blocking. So I think he's going to work right away. And like you said with Marvin Harrison, he shares one thing with him. Their ability to win contested catch situations is going to make them pretty much a fit from a fantasy standpoint, no matter how bad the quarterback situation is, as long as that quarterback is willing to throw the ball in their direction. And we've seen that with DeAndre Hopkins throughout his career. He's had bad quarterback play, and he's still been productive from a fantasy standpoint. I think Odunze will fit that same profile.
I think he's got another thing in common with Marvin Harrison, and that's his route running ability. I think he's a terrific route runner. So certainly he's going to be able to get open for a long time, just getting defenders off balance or frozen, just the way that he runs. Love his game. Really hope he goes to a team where he can be a number 1 wide receiver right away. If he goes to Chicago, it could be a little while before we see him actually achieve that. I'll wrap it up with Malik Nabers, who is a different type of cat than Marvin Harrison and Rome Odunze. He's an absolute speedster. His acceleration is instantaneous. He's got great burst, and he's probably he's among the fastest wide receivers in this class. I can't say he's the fastest because Xavier Worthy was outstanding at the NFL Combine. And Nabers is physical. He's got a powerful build. He's got long arms. He mastered from the slot, but he can work out wide. Good route versatility, but specialized in go and hitch routes. Exploded off the snap. We talked about that. He's smooth in his movement. Good awareness to find space against zone coverage. That's something that he has in common with the other 2 guys. He's also an excellent leaper. He's a playmaker for sure, and he was very good at making off-target throws. He's a little shorter than Odunze and Marvin Harrison, but I don't think anybody's really going to care about that. His footwork and his route running needs to get a little bit better as well. But I think that he's definitely – I think people say, oh, there's no way anybody could be better than Marvin Harrison in the draft class. If a team wants speed at wide receiver, and that's what they covet because you can't coach it, you can't make guys faster, Nabers over Harrison actually makes a little bit of sense. And all 3 of these guys are going to be subject to where they fall in the NFL draft for where they would get picked in fantasy. But I think the case could be made in 1 QB dynasty rookie leagues, or the drafts rather. Harrison's probably going to be first. Nabers is going to be second. Odunze is going to be third. I think that'll be across the board. Now, if one of them ends up in a crappy landing spot, then Brock Bowers, who we're going to talk about on a future episode in FFT in 5, could leap over any of the 3. But I'll name a spot for each of these guys. You tell me how high you'd have them
Okay.
ranked in both rookie only drafts and in redrafts, Dan. I'll
Okay.
start with Harrison if he goes to the Cardinals.
He would be my number one wide receiver in rookie only, and I got to hear the other landing spots to know about redraft.
Okay. Neighbors with the Chargers.
Okay, give me the last one.
Odunze with the Giants.
Okay, so we would do for redraft for sure. I would have Marvin 1, 2 Neighbors, 3 Odunze. For dynasty, I think it would be. That's where it gets interesting. For dynasty, I might be tempted to move Neighbors ahead because I trust Justin Herbert long term more than Kyler Murray, but I just don't think I can do it for my evaluation of Marvin Harrison. I think there's too much of a floor that's also a ceiling with Harrison. I'm not saying Neighbors doesn't have a floor himself, but it's a little bit higher for me for Harrison. So it's be the same rankings for both for me.
And I'm with you on that. And I think the only way it would flip is if Odunze went ahead of one of or went to the Chargers, I should say,
Right.
and then one of those guys ended up going to the Giants. In redraft, if Harrison goes to either the Cardinals or the Chargers, expect him to be a top 30 pick. I think he's going to be
100%.
in that range, especially if it's PPR. I think he's going to be locked into 9 targets a game almost immediately. So look for Harrison to be in that wide receiver 2 range in our rankings. That's going to do it for this edition of FFT and 5. We'll talk to you tomorrow.